Okay. So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining this event for Hunger Action Day. I'm Robin Love with Seed Programs International. Just to say we are recording this event, so just to make sure you're aware. So thank you for joining us. For Hunger Action Month was established by an organization called Feeding America, and the main goal was that to start a push to get people involved in the hunger crisis. So today we're going to be listening to some presentations of the events hosted by Seed Programs International, Poetry, Hunger, and Sustainable Community Initiatives for Empowerment, for SCINE. So we're all going to be talking, and then we're also going to have 7 poets reading their poetry today. So yeah, we want to thank those poets for offering to share their art with us for this event. And yeah, we're excited to get going. Just also want to say if you're not talking to mute your microphone, just so there's no background noise. And then
well, Robin, we all want to thank you for being brave enough to include poetry in the mix and poets in the mix, and to bring the power of poetry to bear on the anti-hunger cause. And in this particular case, Seed Programs International's work in Uganda to establish a school garden. That's what we're here for today, to raise funds for that good effort. And we'll be hearing more about that as we go. I'm Hiram LaRue, founder of Poetry X Hunger. Let me just kind of give you a brief overview, again, kind of reiterating some of the things that Robin just said. You're going to be hearing from a number of fine poets as they present their hunger-focused poetry, much of which has appeared on the Poetry X Hunger website. And we're going to be asking each poet to briefly comment on their poem, where it came from, what they were feeling about when they wrote it, so on and so forth. And then any thoughts that they might have, again, very briefly, any thoughts that they might have about the role of poetry in fighting hunger. And as Robin said, we're also going to be introducing everyone to Seed Programs International programs, its programs, some of its overall programs and goals, and especially its school garden program in Uganda. So you need to get your ears ready for some poetry about hunger. And if you already haven't, you might want to consider making a donation to the school garden program. And I know Robin posted it in the chat a moment ago. I'll see if I can do the same here so that we've got that going. So with that, we'll get the program started with some wonderful poems. We're very fortunate to have a poet open our session today and to set the tone and the mood, who's not only a poet, but is also a fine artist and a visual artist. And I'll come back to that point in just a moment. Let me introduce Diane Wilbon Parks of Bowie, Maryland, USA. She is a poet of excellence in the county that she lives in, Prince George's County, Maryland, and is a literary leader in that county. She's written 2 poetry collections, an award-winning visual artist, as I mentioned, and an author of a children's book. So Diane is multi-talented. She's also the founder of a really wonderful group of poets called The Right Blend, which is a culturally diverse poetry circle, and is a member of a group called the Voices of Woodlawn. Her poetry has been featured nationally and internationally and nationally. Let me share screen on a very important piece of art that Diane created. It is the logo for Poetry X Hunger. And there it is. It's a wonderful, wonderful painting that we've used widely. You'll see it pretty much anywhere and everywhere the Poetry X Hunger is mentioned. So with that, let me turn the mic over to Diane Wilbon Parks.
Thank you so much, Hiram. I must first say that I am very honored to be part of your program this afternoon. Um, I want to do my best. I may not be the most eloquent speaker here, but my heart is all in. And when you showed the painting that I did, I was thinking about this. What do I really want to say about that painting? And what I really want to say is just think about what if that was your spoon? One of those empty spoons in the bowl could be yours. And then around the perimeter, there are others who could absolutely assist. You see the food around the bowl, you see that there are people around the bowl gathered, but yet there's nothing in that bowl. So I just want you to consider what it would be like to be holding on to one of those empty spoons. So the first poem that I will read is really from the perspective of someone who is an observer, someone watching someone. And I think we all, when we look at television, can be on that side. But I also wanted to speak from the voice of someone who really needs someone to advocate for them. So this is entitled Emptiness Leaning. The day is a long, agonizing stretch, an emptiness leaning inside the growling walls of hunger. Who will speak for the unfed mouths that wait listlessly, the thundering noises echoing in the night? When will the yellow sun open its fields for the unfortunate to fetch a harvest? We hear the unfed and the famished from here, from cities, from countries and continents far away. We hear the moans from the dried tears, the cradling cries, the grueling ache of starvation. And yet, most of us do not know their pain, their basic need to eat, to drink, to rest without fear of hunger. Can you imagine what it is like to lose the language of hope? The deafening sound of hope's surrender is a starving child beating a fist against the heart of humanity. Which stone will turn itself over? Which gravel road will pave the way for those who gather at dinner even when there's little to nothing to eat? Whose heart will hear the resounding thunder that keeps eyes awakened at night? Who here will help feed an innocent child, a malnourished mother, a famished father? Which of us can help fill a poor person's plate? Can you imagine what it is like to see the loss of dance in the wilting feet of a starving child?
Wow. Wow. Can you imagine?
Yes.
Amazing, Diane. That's visual artist and poet Diane Wilbon Parks. And Diane, would you like to say anything about where the poem came from, or more generally, what you think the role of poetry can be, should be, has been in speaking back to hunger and fighting hunger?
Well, I absolutely believe that the poet is the right. We are so we're there, we're right there. We can imagine, we can interpret what it might feel like to be hungry. I think that we are, as poets, the right spokesperson, people to really talk about and advocate. I feel that our words can certainly be a seed to plant either in the ground and in someone's ear, someone's heart, so that we can create a world of anti-hunger programs, and we can incorporate this extension of hope into our words so that the world can certainly move from this moment forward. So I think that poetry lends itself to emotion, and we can interpret just what we feel. Um, Hyro, I had one more poem, but
Sure.
if I've taken up too much
No,
time.
go right ahead, Diane.
So this poem that I have is called Seeds of Grace and the Hope of the Harvest. So the one thing that I want to say about this poem is that I was thinking about hope. I don't know. I just kind of thought about metaphorically, I was thinking about Jesus Christ. I was thinking about a lot of saviors in your life, whether it's a mother or father. But that's what I was, considering when I wrote this poem. So I'll read it now. Seeds of Grace and the Hope of Harvest. I hold in my left hand a past that was given a poor woman's name, Hope. She carries a child in her belly who will walk the earth with only grains and rainwater to feed his body. When the child is released to earth like crop and corn husk, he will feed the world through heart and hope. His mother will place the earth in his hand. His life will be a testament of sacrifice and seeds. And in each arm, he will carry the prospect of hope and the pain of hunger. He will weep for the unfed and mourn the sick and dying. He will examine the lives of those who hold a field of crops and livestock in their hand, food and water and shelter. He will loosen the soil around the hearts that bury an answer. He will pray for each closed mind to open a harvest of hope. He will shake loose the trees to feed the poor, sift through the fields for the compassion of strangers to find a savior. I hold in my right hand a future that was given a rich woman's name, Grace. She grows the earth back green and finds a savior in the sun. We are, all of us here, are the ripened fruit of shaken trees. We are the hands that will plant the earth anew before a child's empty belly protrudes, before tears fall to Hollow's hunger. We are the overgrown fields that will feed the famine. We are the knotted paths that will unknit scarcity and deprivation by sowing seeds of grace and becoming the hope of the harvest.
Thank you, Diane. That was Diane Wilbon Parks, her poetry, and you saw a few moments ago her visual artwork, which we've used as a logo for Poetry X Hunger. Thank you so much for being here, for opening up the session, for providing your thoughts on poetry and its role in fighting hunger. I think we're now going to turn it back over to Robin to talk a little bit about Seed Programs International, if I've got the program right.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, thank you, Diane. That was very moving. So I'll share my screen. All right, so just to give some information about Seed Programs International. We are a 501c3 organization that is based in the US, but operates globally. So for our story, we were founded in 1998 by John Batcha. John worked in the seed industry, and he noticed that there were large quantities of seed that were discarded each year, but because they were overproduced or they had small decreases in germination rate. So he formed Seed Programs International so that he could work with the seed companies to accept those seeds as a donation, and then partner with international organizations to have an agricultural program to plant the seeds, grow the food, and improve food security. So our strategy has changed a bit over the years. Now for our international programs, we're mostly doing grants and local procurement of seed. And those grants often include, for training and agricultural resources and inputs as well. And then the donated seed that we receive mostly goes to our domestic programs now. So our mission is to improve food security, strengthen communities, and cultivate sustainable livelihoods through agriculture. And our impact since 1998, we've worked in 94 countries with 380 partners. Together, we've grown 600 million vegetable servings, 56,000 tons of food, and our work has impacted 9 million people and grown 1.8 million gardens.
Wow.
So the challenges, 1 in 4 people globally are moderately to severely food insecure. Some of the main challenges are conflict, climate change, and poverty. So for conflict, we're currently at an all-time high for the number of refugees and internally displaced people. It's at over 100 million people. And conflict often also causes shortages and high prices. Right now, the war in Ukraine is causing high prices for grain, fertilizer, and fuel, which is affecting food security and agriculture. For climate change, there's extreme and erratic weather patterns around the world. An example of that right now is in the Horn of Africa. They're experiencing their worst drought in 40 years. And for poverty, 719 million people globally live on less than $2.15 per day, and that's living in extreme poverty. 1 in 6 children live in extreme poverty. 22% of children suffer from stunting. And in the US, there are 54 million people that are food insecure. So for our programs, we have international programs and domestic programs. For our international programs, most of them fit into one of these 3 categories, with sometimes more than one category, with women's empowerment, crisis recovery, and school gardens. So women empowerment programs, women farmers grow more than half of the food in most developing nations. However, they have limited access to land, seed, tools, advanced technologies, and training. So a lot of our programs focus on women's groups. We also have crisis recovery programs that support internally displaced people and refugee communities, and school gardens, which is mainly what we're going to be working on today. For some students, their one healthy meal for the day is what they get at the school lunch. School gardens also provide an enriching learning environment, hands-on activities for the students. They can learn gardening skills, agriculture, and healthy eating habits.
Robin, excuse me for interrupting, but your slides, the slide we're seeing is the cover slide, the title slide.
Oh,
we haven't
really?
seen any of the others. So if you want to advance the slides, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I have been, but maybe I'm sharing the wrong screen. Oh, that's unfortunate. Thanks for that.
Well, the content is the most important thing. So.
All right.
So we're seeing the cover slide.
All right. Well, we'll just.
Okay.
We're here.
There you go.
All right. So for our domestic programs, we started our domestic programs in 2020 with COVID, and most of the domestic programs are charitable and school gardens, home garden kits, educational programs, and therapeutic gardening. So this picture here is a donation of potato seed. So Sprout Mountain Farms contacted us, told us they had a lot of seed, and asked us if we could use it. So this truck here load went to a bunch of charitable gardens throughout Buncombe County, North Carolina. We also sent some to Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota and to Chicago to an organization called Chicago Grows Food. And we do have a lot of seeds. So, if you know of any domestic programs that are, for humanitarian programs for improving food security, we'd love to hear from them and possibly form a partnership. So this is where we're currently operating. Most of our programs are in Africa. We have some programs in Latin America as well, in Haiti, United States. Last year, we started programs in Poland and Ukraine, and we have a program in Kyrgyzstan. So this is the main topic of conversation today too, with the school garden program in Uganda with SCINE. We've started partnering with them last year. We really enjoyed working with them. We did this school garden project. We also did a seed grant last year, and then we expanded a bit more this year to do more school gardens. One of our board of directors visited the program and visited the school program that we made last year, and he recorded this video that I'd like to share. It is fairly quiet, so you might need to turn your volume up to hear it.
Yes.
Our things that we can feed on,
like onions,
dodo, like spinach, and we don't spend we don't spend money that's going to the garden, that's going to the market, that's spinach, buy dodo, onions. But for us, here we have our garden, and it helps us in many things. If we eat some spinach, we can get vitamins, we can be healthy, and we don't need that to go to the market and money when it is not there. But I thank those who have come and helped us. I thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a nice little video. You can see how proud she is of the garden and how much she's enjoyed the program. So yeah, we're excited to continue to work with SCINE. We think they've been doing a wonderful job. And you'll hear more from them later in the program too. They're going to give a presentation about all the great work they're doing.
Great.
So this is a fundraiser for that school garden project. You can use this QR code if you would like to donate, or we've also put the link in the comment section. And then when you get there, you can hit this button to donate now. And just to say too, we are a 501c3 organization. We have a high rating on Charity Navigator and Platinum Transparency on Candid. So you can give with confidence to our organizations. If you are looking for other ways to get involved, you can host a seed packing event. For this, they're great for clubs, churches. This one was done by High Point University, corporations, any kind of organization can do it. Basically, we'd send you seed and seed packets, and then you'd hold an event. We'd also help you organize it so you can host it. And then you hold the event, you package the seed and send the seed to a charitable garden program that can use the seed and plant it. We also have Ukrainian Solidarity Bloom flower seed packets. They're just right here. They're a flower mix of yellow and blue flowers that you can plant in your garden, and you could send a picture of your garden to us and we'll post it to our website. It's just another thing you can do to show your support. Donations are always appreciated. And then if you are interested to learn more about the programs we have, you can check out our website, which is seedprograms.org. We have a blog. We also do newsletters. You can sign up for the newsletter on our website. We are planning to send out one next week. And we are also on most social media platforms. So you can check us out there. And Hiram, you want to?
Sure. Thank you, Robin. That's Robin Love, CEO of Seed Programs International. And thank you for that overview. Really helpful and pretty compelling story that Seed is involved with. Really appreciate that. I just wanted to remind folks about what Poetry X Hunger is. Poetry X Hunger is working in partnership with Seed Programs International to co-host this event, this fundraiser. I started Poetry X Hunger about 5 years ago to bring a world of poets to the anti-hunger cause. And because at that time, not many poems about hunger were available for anti-hunger groups to use. But now with the help of many, many poets, many of whom are here on this Zoom, many poets from around the world, and through partnerships with food banks, and with groups like Seed Programs International, along with partners like the United Nations and arts councils, we have about 400 poems on the Poetry X Hunger website. And all of those poems, all of them, are freely available to use. And that's a key point. The poems are being used by groups like Feed the Children. They're being used in houses of worship, at policy level meetings of legislators and others, in college classrooms, and by elementary and high school teachers, all to help raise awareness about hunger using poetry as a vehicle. But we're also using poems on the website to raise funds for the anti-hunger cause, like what we're doing today. So with that, let me turn it back to Robin to introduce our next poet.
Great, thank you. So our next poet, Roger, I'm just gonna mute you. So our next poet is Patsy Asuncion. She has poetry collections, Cut on the Bias and Lineage of Weeds, depict her work, and they depict her world slant as a biracial first-generation immigrant. Patsy promotes diversity through publications such as her New York Times, magazines, journals, online, through presentations at national conferences from Florida to California, and through other venues such as being an open mic MC with more than 25,000 views, a community program leader, an arts judge, and many other activities. Hey, Patsy.
Thank you for that introduction, and I'm very impressed with your outreach to hungry people all over the world. Thank you for all you do, Robin. This first one that I'm going to do, Hiram has posted and used for World Food Day Poetry last year in July. And I use my poetry everywhere I go. I grew up very, very poor, inner city Chicago, right after World War II. And so hunger, poverty, I left home at 17. Fortunately, school was my angel, and I was able to escape that. But my father was the one that raised me. My mother was gone before I was 2. So living inner city, this poem speaks to me, and I wrote about it. It's called Drive By. Cars insulate, cut fast getaways from street people who provoke guilt with hunger that angers well-behaved routines. The voiceless crouch, clean forgot in fast-paced apathy, maroons with crude cardboard confessions, dismissed by dog-eat-dog drivers who insist hungry is a hustle. Unlike corner beggars and homeless women and kids, run from street corner scrutiny, scramble for anonymous shelter from hit and run humanity. Outside white are welcome. Dirt-colored rags and races are deprived in ditches. Failed schools, prisons, slums, colored walls. The tired, the poor, the huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched, refuse, and homeless, welcomed by the Statue of Liberty, no longer wanted.
Well,
10,000 kids every night, 10,000 children die of hunger. That's one child every 10 seconds. That statistic really hit home. I can remember, being happy to have a candy bar, and that was my dinner. In Chicago, we had community houses, and I was able to have breakfast and lunch at school. And I was very happy to have that. Grateful. This next one is about the government, and I have a bias. I think that our U.S. government is well, how shall I put it, skewed to the rich, and that they don't struggle a lot with food issues, but there are 33.8 million Americans that are hungry. In Uganda, this is a stat that I pulled from January this year, 16.4 million Ugandans don't have enough food. Climate change is part of it, but I think our big governments don't have a heart for our people. So anyway, this is my biased take on government. It's called automated tracks. It's also a little attempt on my old body to give you a little bit of hip hop. Automated tracks. Native ants scurry to fill space, a network shelter for their race, with unending stories blocking intricate corridors against others, outsiders who raid their thinking with forced drinking, a new Jones juice to induce an internet submission, reduced unquestioned obedience to the profits of the minority, to the misery of the majority. They're trapped in the busy of the food to mouth chain to sustain revolution against government's ants, institution, to maintain persecution, starvation of the masses through taxes and privations. They are crushed with obligations, enslaved by gluttony. No time to rebuild ruins of their flattened democracy, turned cash-hearted autocracy. This last one, there's so many orphans and widows in the world, and war. We've talked about war everywhere. The United States, in particular, is one of the warringest countries in the world by history, and it leaves children hungry. It leaves widows hungry, and so I think about them in this one. They're the hardest hit by war. It's called Bus Stop. A one-legged vet leans at the curb, a caricature of mutilated plastic caught in the gutter. No one cares to clean up. Mother and kids huddle shaped into incognito cardboard, beaten flat for trash, under the nearby bridge, waiting, just out of sight, just in case. Scattered cigarette fibers, smashed faceless, tell her story. She clutches a stuffed bag to calm hot panic, rising in her veins, relentless as addiction. Amidst glass broken, cheap life sediment, waits for a ride anywhere but here, where each knows the way, blindfolded.
Patsy. If we ever needed evidence of poets' commitment and their ability to rouse others to the cause, Patsy is one of many, but especially the way she writes and how she delivers that writing definitely exhibits that important commitment to the cause. We thank you so much, Patsy, for being here. You and your talent and your voice. Really.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm honored. I'm very honored to be here.
Well,
Thank you
we're honored to have you here.
The invite.
Along with all the other wonderful poets. We're really honored to have you here. Our next poet is Christopher George. Chris was born in Liverpool, England. You'll notice a little beautiful British accent. And he came to the US in 1955. He's now a resident of Newark, Delaware, and his poetry has been published worldwide, including in journals like Poet Lore, the American Poetry Journal, Anti-Heroin Chic, Lochraven Review, Gargoyle, and the Times of London. We'll turn it over to Chris, and I believe, Chris, you want to share screen, so we'll let you do that.
I am going to share screening, if I might say so.
Sure.
I'm the total token Brit. What can I say?
There you go.
I'm originally from Liverpool, England, lived a long time in Baltimore, Maryland, now exiled in northern Delaware. So here's my presentation. Where do you get to the beginning of it? Here we go. No relief. How dare you starve on our national TV? You stare at the camera with eyes so large they might be filled with stars, with oceans, with the treasure of Fort Knox. Not just with plain old hunger. We can satisfy by opening the refrigerator. Don't flaunt your tragedy at me. You have hunger enough, we could drive a Cadillac through it. How dare you show your ribs like that? This isn't the Smithsonian. These sort of things just don't happen. Didn't anyone tell you? Crawl on back through time and join those other miseries. Dachau, Wounded Knee, the Black Death. How dare you thrust your bloated torso out? You're just not svelte enough. Don't shove your claw of a hand toward me. Don't open your mouth with your disasters of teeth. When did you last see your orthodontist? Don't speak to me. We can have no converse. This is a poem by Philip Banofsky. Lives in my area of the United States. The milk of human kindness. Every chosen charity's an unchoice, each bellyful of milk, a belly empty bloated, hands warm with earth and harvest, nuzzling for eggs from feathery purring hens, turn cold to cull and kill. We stage poor ethics with small company or small class. May I reach into the blue light of your being? Do you feel the living warmth of my grasp? All things eternal flow through us. As the rain flows back to the sea, because complicity is abstracted. The violent world, whose blood sweetens my wine, whose bones whiten my bread, hides its snaky hair and head. While the night stays out of my heaven, my heart won't turn to stone. My milk will flow. The Disappeared by Cecilia Vicuna. To bear another, to be a pair, to be torn apart. I heard it said evil was invented to give us something to talk about. But how to speak if each syllable falls into the sea? The M of mother, drifting away, other, where have you gone? The F of father, sinking further down, harder, where have you gone? They didn't fall, they were thrown to leave us without speech, to drown our words. Anthem. Lay a new foundation stone. raise the roof tree toward the North Star, lend a helping hand, palms calloused with work. That's how to defeat evil. Everyone working together, while our hearts in unison, our hopes harnessed to defeat the shadow men, the forces that divide us. When the devil seeps into our foundations, threatening society at its taproot. Hatred blindfolds, justice denied, blinded victims, insurgents blindfolded. Bruton's fortune. Magawa, bringer of light. Who would ever think we'd have a rat to thank for anything at all? Rats. Think of the Black Death and rats skulking in stinking sewers. Magawa, African giant pouch rat. Magawa, who trod where no human dared to tread, sniffing out landmines, unexploded ordnance, saving numberless human lives, saving bodies, limbs, sight. Magawa, bringer of light, where there was only darkness before. Magawa, straining on his wire leash with its bolt and nut. This is a poem by Catrice Greer for George, killed by police, as you well know, George Floyd. These wombs, sacred, we build placenta worlds of blood and bone, cord by cord, cells churning with life, a zygotic landscape, SAFE, safe from gunshots, lethal force, blue bias, blows safe from bent-tongued accusations, chokeholds, grief, tears, and pain, light years away, the amniotic sac aglow, you hear only my voice, Mommy. I walked with you, my love, my son floating close to my own heartbeat, tethered in the mitochondrial house. We are one, my peace, your peace. My child, to lose you to this world that does not know you, never carried you, is not the deep-rooted tree of life I birthed. A premature exit is not the afterbirth of my labor. Call my name when the end is near. I will come again for you. I will come again for you. My angel, my sweetness, you will reside here with me. Rest in peace. Come home. Breathe, breathe, breathe.
Thank you, Chris.
Well, let me just finish with this one.
Okay, one more, please. Yeah.
Short. As mentioned earlier, I'm from Liverpool. Liverpool was battered by German bombing, specifically in 1941. In 1984, we had an International Garden Festival, and my poem City won first prize in the 20 years and over category. City. This is the battered and broken city. These are its broken dreams. This, the broken glass. This, the broken brick. This, the broken will, hiding behind pale skin. This is the wasteland where nothing grows but despair. This is the hand. This is the seed. Plant it.
Terrific. Thank you, Chris, for bringing not only your own poetry, but poetry by others into the circle today, and demonstrating again what I call the potency, the power of poetry to speak to all aspects of hunger. You have some comments in the chat, one of which is a request to put links in the chat to some of the poems you read by yourself and others. So please take a look at those. I think we're now going to turn back to Robin to just real quickly refresh on why we're here today for any latecomers, and then we'll move forward with the next poets. Robin?
Yeah, so we're here today to listen to poetry and to discuss some zero hunger initiatives for Hunger Action Day, which is a way to think about the hunger crisis. We're also raising money to make a school garden in Uganda with a sustainable community initiative for empowerment. And they're actually going to be our next speakers. Roger Busing, he's a board member for SCINE, and he's going to talk more about their organization. We have the donation link in the chat as well. So yeah, and now we'll turn it over to Roger.
Thank you so much. I share my screen, but I can't.
Roger, you're kind of breaking up. Roger, excuse me, you're kind of breaking up. You're kind of breaking up. Maybe you should turn your camera off so the audio has more bandwidth.
It thinks with the setting, I can't share my screen, but I will go ahead and present.
Okay, well, just go ahead then. Yeah.
Okay. My name is Roger Busing, and I'm a board member of SCINE, this amazing organization that is trying to teach the young children the importance of food production and also to teach them on nutritional feeding. SCINE is a Ugandan community-led non-government organization established in 2018 to support, empower, and strengthen communities, create programs and influence policies in the areas of agriculture, climate change, and environmental conservation. In health, especially sexual reproductive health and economic empowerment. Our vision is a peaceful, equitable, prosperous, and empowered society. Our mission is transformation through community-led initiatives to end social injustices facing the most isolated and vulnerable communities. Our work, what we do over the past 1.5 years, in partnership with SPI, we have set up 5 school gardens in 5 ghetto schools, and we have reached to 1,740 school children who have benefited from our work. In my presentation here, I don't know if not shared it, but we have a number of pictures, and I'll be sharing a video showing some of what we've been doing. Our achievements so far, we've done some nutritional education. School gardens have promoted healthy eating habits by allowing students to grow, harvest, and taste fresh vegetables, which have positively impacted their dietary choices. Students have also learned hands-on experiences, and we provided students with practical and interactive learning experience reinforcing academic concepts in science subjects by getting their hands dirty with digging, tilling, planting, and harvesting. This program has also improved knowledge and skills on farming, gardening at an early age. And we know that something that you learn when you're young and when you pick passion, it is something that cannot leave you. It is something that I've learned in my life. I started farming when I was a young kid. Even when I moved here in America, The first thing was look for a community garden to continue growing healthy food that I could enjoy with my family. But that is because I fell in love with farming when I was very young. So that is very important. Also, there is improved academic performance due to development of critical thinking skills and a deeper understanding of science concepts. Then there is also increased food literacy. Students have gained knowledge about where food comes from and how it is grown, thus reducing the disconnect between food production and consumption. We all know that many students who grow up in the city, who are born in the city, all they know is that food comes from the market. They know that everything comes only from the market or from the stores. But when they learn as early as possible, then they get to know the real source of food, and then they can also participate in the production. We are so glad that SPI gave us a grant which helps us to reach out to 100 households from the ghetto communities of Kampala. Each household has 10 members, and that translates into 1,000 members for 100 gardens. We also have community demonstration garden, which we do fortnight harvest together with community members at a free cost. We utilize the harvesting period to equip them with knowledge on urban farming in the limited available spaces. On the side of the garden is an extension shed, which we use for activity meeting and workplace, among others. So even other activities like teaching about climate change, teaching about sexual reproductive health, economic empowerment, we also use the opportunity to teach our community members about all those important skills. The shed is also used by the community to hold community meetings, and each harvest targets 15 households. We also distribute seedlings.
Can I just double check that you can see his presentation? That's what you're seeing right now? You are? Okay, great.
Can I go ahead? I tried to share it, but couldn't. Okay, I can see it now. So I'll go ahead and go to seedlings, distribution of seedlings. We grow seedlings on behalf of the community. Reach beneficiary, 200 people during the first half of the year. So those are the number of people that have been, we reach out at least by first half of the year. We constantly supply seedlings to the community on demand so that their garden don't run dry. So we have a program of distributing, but also community members can still come and demand more depending on their needs. We also equip the community with knowledge on how to take care of their urban gardens. We managed to take at least 25 community members for capacity building when we took them to the city-owned urban farming place so that they could learn and get first-hand information from experts from the city. And this has helped to minimize food scarcity at household levels in the communities. We also have an urban farmer's guide manual, which guides school children on how to plan and identify what must be done, establish and maintain the school garden. So this is available for all community members and the school children so that they can learn. It has all the steps, everything that they need to know about farming. Our projections for the next 5 years, we are planning to reach out to 100 schools in Uganda with the school garden concept. We also plan to do capacity building of 1,000 households in urban farming and its benefits, which will minimize food scarcity at household level. We are also planning to put in place a community-led agro-input banks in different areas, a one-stop center where small-scale farmers can access quality seedlings, agricultural equipment like sprayers, hoes, watering cans, and agricultural extension services. Thank you so much for listening to me, and thank you so much for your support.
Thank you, Roger. We're really honored that groups that you represent, SCINE, is here with us and is so incredibly involved on the ground with the anti-hunger cause. It's remarkable all that you're doing, and we really appreciate that brief overview. Hopefully there'll be an opportunity, if it's not already posted on the SPI website, maybe we can make sure that your video is posted, and we can probably post it also on the Poetry X Hunger website. So that's just a terrific presentation. Really appreciate you being here, Roger. We've got about a half an hour more, so I'm going to ask the next poets if they can kind of keep to about 5 minutes each. That would be wonderful, because we want to give each one of them important microphone time. Our next poet is Laura McGinnis. She's a retired project manager from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the United States. She's a member of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institutes at the University of Pittsburgh and at Carnegie Mellon University, and Mad Woman in the Attic, I love that title, at Carlow University. She's been published by Clarendon House, by Poetry Quarterly, by Sweetie Cat Press, and Indie Blue. Her first chapbook, How to Grieve, a Cancer Journal, is in print with Bottleneck Press. We'll give the mic over to Laura McGinnis.
Thank you, Hiram, and thank you everyone for being here. I'm honored to be among this august community. I have two poems. The first one is, both of these poems were written from the perspective of someone who has not had to face the deprivations that so many of our friends and neighbors have. And I want to use my poetry to open up some feelings and thoughts that have been hard for people to express. But I think poetry has a way of providing gotcha moments or aha moments, and I hope these poems do that. Thanksgiving gratitude. Before we ate, we went around the table. What are you thankful for? The usual: family, health, food, family, home. Then the formal prayer, grace before we filled our faces. Bless this meal and the hands that produced it. Amen. The hands are more than those that came from the kitchen. The hands from farms where turkeys are bred, grown, fed, day after day, until they're ready to grace someone's holiday table. They come from acres that are prayed over for just the right balance of sun and rain, to produce the yams, beans, potatoes, and pumpkins, the feast they cannot afford for themselves. They come from fields, from stooped-over pickers, paid pennies to gather in the harvest, moving from field to field, farm to farm, until the season ends, and they must subsist until it's time to do it all again. They come from the bowels of the waterworks, giving 24/7 attention to the knobs and dials to keep the water flowing and potable, who give up their holidays to make sure everyone else has theirs. How can I, with my head bowed, bear the weight of all the hands who prepared this feast? And my second poem, wishing once, wishing twice, wish for chicken soup with rice. And this is based on a poem called Chicken Soup with Rice, which was written by Maury Sendak and set to music by Carole King. In January, it's so nice while slipping on the sliding ice to sip hot chicken soup with rice. Sipping once, sipping twice, sipping chicken soup with rice. In January, it would be nice to have leftover turkey from Christmas feast or New Year's fair, but no, our pantry's always bare. In February, it will be my snowman's anniversary, with cake for him and soup for me. Happy once, happy twice, happy chicken soup with rice. In February, winter's chills seep in around the cracks around my sills. To have some chicken soup with rice, that would be so very nice. In March, the wind blows down the door and spills my soup upon the floor. It laps it up and roars for more. Blowing once, blowing twice, blowing chicken soup with rice. In March, the flu breaks down my door. The clinic says we must eat more. But how when I have bills to pay? Creditors don't go away. In April, I will go away to far off Spain or old Bombay and dream about hot soup all day. Oh, my once, oh, my twice, oh, my chicken soup with rice. In April, will the taxman ride to cut his portion from my hide? Once more will I be in arrears? There's no way to calm my fears. In May, I truly think it best to be a robin lightly dressed, concocting soup inside my nest. Mix it once, mix it twice, mix that chicken soup with rice. In May, the flowers brightly bloom, but I am stuck inside my room, trying hard to figure out how to deal with my self-doubt. In June, I saw a charming group of roses all begin to droop. I pepped them up with chicken soup. Sprinkle once, sprinkle twice, sprinkle chicken soup with rice. In June, the kids are home from school, hoping to go to the neighborhood pool, but bathing suits are luxuries. They swim in cut-off dungarees. In July, I'll take a peep into the cool and fishy deep where chicken soup is selling cheap. Selling once, selling twice, selling chicken soup with rice. July's fierce heat begins to rise and sweat pours down into my eyes. Food stamps ran out in just 3 weeks, but I still have 4 mouths to feed. In August, it will be so hot, I will become a cooking pot. Cooking soup, of course, why not? Cooking once, cooking twice, cooking chicken soup with rice. August's heat is sweltering. It feels like everything's melting. Government cheese and peanut butter are breakfast, lunch, and sometimes supper. In September, for a while, I will ride a crocodile down the chicken soupy Nile. Paddle once, paddle twice, paddle chicken soup with rice. September, kids are back at school. The weather begins to slightly cool. Breakfast and lunch will be provided, mandated meals for each of my kids. In October, I'll be host to witches, goblins, and a ghost. I'll serve them chicken soup on toast. Whoopee once, whoopee twice, whoopee chicken soup with rice. For Halloween, the kids will be in another neighborhood collecting treats. No one in our project here has money to spend on candy. Don't sneer. In November's gusty gale, I will flop my flippy tail and spout hot soup. I'll be a whale. Spouting once, spouting twice, spouting chicken soup with rice. In November, we give thanks for the generosity of food banks. They make sure each family has their very own turkey. In December, I will be a baubled, bangled Christmas tree with soup bowls draped all over me. Merry once, merry twice, merry chicken soup with rice. December comes and goes so fast, another year flown by at last. Free food replaced with gifts of toys. They're all for girls, but I have boys. I told you once, I told you twice, all seasons of the year are nice for eating chicken soup with rice. Amazing how the months will fly. They're so quickly whizzing by. I don't know what the answer is. I beg, will someone help us, please? Thank you.
Wonderful, Laura. Thank you. And thanks to the spirit of Mr. Silverstein, as interpreted by Laura McGinnis, that last piece. Will both
Maurice Sendak. Maurice Sendak.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sendak. Yeah, Sendak. The last piece, I think you'll see in the chat, as a favorite. In fact, there are already suggestions about how it could be used in Uganda and elsewhere. So thank you for sharing that and being here with us. Let's turn it back over to Robin to introduce our next poet.
Sure, yeah. Our next poet is Willeena Booker. Willeena is an inspiring educator, powerful poet, and passionate advocate of social justice. Her poetry celebrates Black identity and diversity and equality for it all. Her children's poetry is included in the Things We Feel, Things We Wear, What is a Friend, and What is a Family. Her work appears in poetry anthologies and on the Poetry Project's BIPOC page. Willeena's poems also appear in haiku poetry, the Moonstone Press publications, in Oprella publications, the Rise Up anthology. She was a finalist in Coming Home to Hope 2021, Oprella publications. Willeena's poem, One Voice, was composed to music by world-renowned composer Rollo Dilworth and sung by the high school chorus of Hatboro Horsham School District in Horsham, Pennsylvania. Willeena's poem, Longing for More, was selected to open the Global Leadership in Agriculture 2022 virtual conference.
Thank you. And thank you so much for everyone being here today. I've never heard my bio read out, so that was an honor. I am going to share with you two poems. The first poem is called Dawning. And this poem was written as I started to just do some research about the war in Ukraine and how the war impacts whether food can get into the country and get to the people that need it. And so I give you Dawning. In the face of hunger, I stand on the strength of hope. This wicked, wretched wrong makes souls to suffer long into the dark, dismal hours. In the aftermath of its destruction, we wait. While sun stretches high over brightening skies, hiding the helpless in the shadows, blankets us in hope that morning will soon come again, and we will have bellies full of it in the morning, when the table will be spread with the fruit of love's labor and harvest from the motherland. We will laugh and make merry as our hearts runneth over. In the morning, bombs and bullets will cease. War will sleep once more. Tears shed in silence will dry in the heat of the simmering sun. There will be food to fill the mouths of everyone, and we will kneel, body bent under the golden arch of this new day, to give thanks, to offer praise of the glorious day. Hunger shall be wiped away. It shall vanish without a crumb's trace in the morning. In the morning, floodwaters will recede. Food will find its way to all families. All will sit and eat freely, all at the table of humanity. Come, you are welcome at this table. Stand freely, waiting for the move of morning to come dawning. And the next poem I'm going to read is called Longing for More. And this poem was written in 2020, and the images that stayed with me as I was writing was the food banks, the miles and miles long of cars in the United States waiting at food banks to get food through the pandemic. And I just tried to capture a couple images of how often we see someone in need on the street and we pass by them quickly and without offering to help. And so this poem, Longing for More, is a call to action from within myself and also to humanity to do more to fight hunger. Bare bones palate, salivating on stale air. Inhale aromatic memories before cupboards were left bare. Praying for a meal, but a morsel is barely there. Silent duel with hunger's boastful stare. One country wallows in gluttony, yet another laments in despair. If all men are created equal, then why is life so unfair? Incessant gnawing deep in the pit of my pitiful soul, longing for sustenance to overflow an empty bowl, mocking me, looming large whither I go. Trembling hands unmask pain, my desperation grows. Head tucked low, veiling the shame, begging for food. Oh God, this is insane. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof. Starvation is a poison. The antidote is love. Full bellies pass by in quick-paced steps, failing to see my hour of woe and regret. God bless the one who grows his own, tilling the ground with hands of his native home. Villagers pledge to restore the land, plant more trees. United we stand. Hunger, a silent pandemic raging out of control. Millions go hungry, but who keeps tally of the toll? Swaddled skeletons and emaciated remains, hidden 6 feet deep. The world in motion, yet unchanged. Come, stand with me, brothers and sisters. Let us rise as one to eradicate hunger until global victory is won. Thank you.
Thank you, Willeena, for that call, both of concern and to action and of hope. No surprise, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, that poem, Longing for More, will be featured at a nationwide meeting of a group called Hunger Free Communities that will be held in November in Washington, D.C. So thank you, Willeena, again for your talents, your power, and your presence. We'll turn it, I believe, our next poet is none other than Takudzwa Chikepe. Taku, as he's often known, but famously known as Va Chikepe, is one of the best writing poets from Zimbabwe. A 2-time featured poet at the Bridgewater International Poetry Festival, where I first met him. Taku believes that poetry is a calling, and he uses different states of mind, music, and spirituality to define and express poetry. He is currently enrolled at Duke Divinity School. So Taku, the mic is yours.
Thank you so much. It is a great honor being here. Thank you. I'm going to read one poem today. The poem is called Hunger's Curriculum Vitae. I just want to say, like, before I met Dr. Hiram in 2018, I was writing poetry, or I specialize in writing poetry of creating alternative reality, especially being someone who comes from Africa. So you have to calculate different ways of not stepping on people's toes. So I specialize in calculating, in writing alternative reality, and sometimes just showing people some things that they don't know. So Dr. Hiram inspired me to start to write poetry that has to do with hunger. I didn't have that kind of thematic way of writing poetry. So this is one of my poems I've written in that line of thinking. So it's called Hunger's Curriculum Vitae. Hunger Is communication that something is wrong with our way of thinking? Either we have to solve it or we will perish away with it. The stomach knows no boundary when it comes to swallowing, but sometimes there isn't anything to swallow at all. Swallowing thinness and diseases, malnutrition, and sometimes even death. While also the food we are eating today is as dangerous as poison, slowly destroying us from our appetite and their deliciousness, especially from our ignorance. Food was never complicated to eat, like in these days where you first read the curriculum vitae of your food before you swallow, so as to know if you will survive or not. Which leaves us with this question: if food has become this difficult to eat, what will we eat? What are we going to be eating today, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow? As a question. Are we eating anything? What are we eating? And what shall we eat in the future remains the question. We are traditionally known for eating food, but if we are not careful enough, this same food is going to eat us up, all of us in return. What I also don't understand is, why are we still starving to death, yet this world has developed so much? From traveling with aeroplanes to now planning to live in Mars and at the moon, from having traffic congestions to having underground transport system, from having technology in the cables to now having the same technology connected to our bodies. Like we are born with it. Yes, born with it. We need to do something about our food. We need to do something about what we eat, and we need to do something about ourselves while least we can, and before we turn into a disaster that is too big for us to handle. Oh, so do we really know what hunger is, guys? Do we really know what it is? Let us carefully listen to it, to what it has to say. Even if it runs away from us, let us locate it and have a conversation with it, lest we can all strike a mutual deal that benefits us all. If all this does not work, then we will launch a war against hunger, because he has been destroying us for a long time without us doing anything about it. The funny thing about all this is, ever since the times we started eating, we never stopped eating. Continuously or with some space in between, we continue to eat. Viva 2030, viva! Viva Zero Hunger Global Village, viva! Viva 2030, viva! Viva Zero Hunger Global Village, viva, viva, viva. Thank you.
Viva 2030, zero hunger. Thank you, Taku. You know, what's been on display here today has been the range, the amazing range of voices, talents, presentation styles, and takes on hunger. And the variety is just overwhelmingly wonderful. I really appreciate you, Taku, being here. I believe, Taku, you were saying in an email to me that you were thinking a little bit about hosting a poetry hunger event on campus there. And if that's the case, if I understood that correctly, I certainly hope you are able to do that. That would be terrific. So let's turn it over to Robin. Maybe she'll have an update for us on how much has been raised thus far and where we need to go still to reach our goal, and then maybe introduce the last poet for the evening or for the day.
Yeah, so we are at $825, which is great. Thank you everybody for contributing to that. I think it's a great initial showing. Our goal is 1,000, but I think we're well on our way there. So yeah, it's great, amazing work.
And we want to remind everyone that donations will be accepted after this event. So if you know of anyone who you think might want to donate and hasn't yet, please remind them that they can.
Yeah.
Thanks, Robin.
And we'll make this video available too, so people can still do it. So our next poet is Katiba Muhammed. He is the executive director for Uganda Agriculture Teachers Organization, an agriculture educator at Nyenga SSS, as well as patron Nyenga SS Agriculture Educators Club. He is also an agriculture educational bachelor's holder who spearheaded the transformation of agriculture in Uganda through quality education and value chain production. He is married and has 4 children and is a citizen of Uganda, Mukono municipality with active personal email contact katibapal@gmail.com and Uganda Agriculture Teachers@gmail.com.
We thought it was very fitting to finish today's session with a poet from Uganda, since we are raising funds for school gardens in Uganda. Now, Robin, is he going to, I see he's here, which is wonderful. Is he going to read live, or are we going to play back a video?
It's up to him. We have the video available. Muhammad, Katiba, are you?
He's not coming on mic. Why don't we just go ahead and why don't we go ahead and play back the video?
Great. Can you see him?
And the Executive Director for Uganda Agriculture Teachers Organization. Tonight, I'm to share with you a poem on food security. And here we go. Food security. To understand it better, we need to think of food being reliable, accessible, affordable, adequate, and qualitative. Food security being important, there is job creation, enhanced economic growth, and poverty eradication. If we do not keep food security, we invite food insecurity. There should be a network amongst everyone in society to maintain food security. Food security. This is a global concern. It's you and me to keep the flag flying for the good of everyone.
Wonderful.
With the Venture X card from Capital One, you earn 2 times my...
Terrific, terrific. I don't know if Muhammad can come onto mic or not. I'm not sure. But we really want to thank him for that special ending poem. By the way, all the poems, or many of the poems that have been presented today, are on Poetry X Hunger, and in many cases, either an audio recording of the poet reading, presenting their work, or even a video recording is available on the website. So if you want to hear any of these poems again, or if you want to see the text of the poem and read them, they're all there on Poetry X Hunger website. I want to, as I leave the mic, I want to thank Robin, as I said earlier on, for being brave enough to partner with Poetry X Hunger and the poets in this particularly important cause. It's wonderful to hear that we are well on our way to meeting that goal. I, for one, would love to see us bust through it. So if you have any way of helping spread the word about the event and the fundraising aspect of it with your friends, please do. But I'll turn it over to Robin to end the session for us with a great big thanks from all of us to Robin for the good work that she and her team are doing.
Yeah, I thank you so much for having this idea. I thought it sounds wonderful, and this was a really moving to hear all of your poetry. I really enjoyed participating in this event. Thank you also to SCINE, the great work they're doing in Uganda. We're excited to continue to work with you, and having this money go toward creating a school garden there. So thank you to everybody that's participated today. Thank you to everybody that's donated. It's a big team effort, and it's exciting to see where it's going to go.
We're proving that poetry can help raise funds. And Robin, when the funds reach Uganda and are used for helping establish the school garden, if there'd be some way to get some photographs or video of that and post it so that we can see what our efforts went to help with, that would really be wonderful. So
yeah, they've been really wonderful at keeping us in the loop with everything, with lots of photos. So good. And they're on the call today. So several of the Emma, Jacqueline, and then Roger, who's on the board, are all on.
Thank you to Diane, to Roger, to Patsy, to Chris, to Laura, to Willeena, to Taku, and for everyone else who just came to listen and support the cause. Really appreciate it. So with that, unless there's anything else for the good of the cause, we'll let folks go and get back to whatever you need to do. And stay tuned for this recording. It will be posted on SPI's website and on Poetry X Hunger as well.
Thank you, Hiram. Thank you, Robin.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Peace.
Robin, I'll stay on for just a second. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.